Okay, hello. For those that are online, Pallavi is our this year's Summer of Code student. Some of you may have met her online already in chats, and she's working on the Android client. And Anush did last year. I hope I pronounced it correctly. Did last year start with the or not start, but continue with the Android client and did a lot of work on it. And Pallavi took this work and is now working on adding alert trigger definitions so that you can not only see metrics and fired alerts in the Android client, but also define new alert triggers from it. And when we defined that work and had the idea to do that, we still were on the old inventory version 2. And then during the process, when she was starting to work, we have switched to this new inventory, less inventory. So she also had to battle with that change. Yeah, so that's where we stand. And now I leave it to Pallavi.
Hi guys, thanks for the introduction. So, as Dylan said, I am a GSOC intern and I've been working on this client. Yeah, so I've been working on the Hawkular Android client. So, to start with, this is my, so I'll be sharing the link to this. So, I've made a document where I've mentioned the introduction part, the weekly breakdown of the work that I've done, and added the links to the commits that have been done. So here's the link. This is on my branch. So if anyone wants to go, if anyone wants to check, this is on my branch. And yeah, so to start with the developments in the Android client. So let's just. Um, can you see my emulator?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Then I'll just log out. Okay. So initially when I started, so there were two activities. So we have to first mention our host, the port, and then when we submit, we go to the another page where we write a username and password. We have combined both the activities and we just have one. So living on the edge may not work. So I'll just change it. Okay. So you can also see the password and then we log in. So, in the initial week of May, uh, the major part that was happening in the Hawkler client was that we were fetching environment, and in the current inventory, we don't really have the support for environment. Just a second, give me a minute. Just restart the emulator. There was a problem with the. Just run it again. Just take 2 minutes to run again. So yeah, I was talking about the environment fetching part. So the previous inventory had the support for environment, and so we were fetching the environment first, and then we were authenticating. So with the changes, this thing crashed because there wasn't any environment. So what I have done right now is I've completely bypassed environment fetching. I don't fetch environment anymore. The code for the fetching is still there. So if in future we want to, if we have support, we can still modify that code and work on it. So the code is still there. It's just that I have bypassed it to make the app working again. So that was the part of the first fix which I did. And just give me a minute. Yeah, I hope it works this time. Somehow it's not connecting to the internet. Yes, so it worked. Yeah. Do I still have everyone? Hello?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
works
Okay,
well.
so yeah. So the login part was fixed. So second thing which I did was to add support for adding a trigger. So yeah. So this is the part which I did. I added a floating action button here, which you can see in the red. So whenever I click on this, I'm taken to a new activity where I can write the ID which I want to give to the trigger. So I'll just say ID1 for testing. And I can also write the name. So I just say demo1. And the type, as of now, the type is, we're only dealing with standard types, but if in future we want to change it to group or something, we can do that. But the standard, currently it just supports standard type events, standard triggers. And the severity can also be changed. So I'll just make it medium. And then we can auto disable, auto enable it, and also enable. So I'll just set the trigger to be enabled, and then I say submit. So when I click on this button, yeah. So yeah, now we have the trigger there. So the trigger is enabled. It has ID1 and demo1 as the name. So this is a part of setting up the trigger. Now the second thing which I did in this was the visitors I've already made and it's yet to be merged. So when I click on this, I still have the option of adding it to favorites, and I can also delete this trigger. So if I add it to favorites, so I can see it in my favorites triggers. Yeah, so it's there in my favorites. And I'll show you how to delete this. So now when I say delete, okay, so there's some memory leak happening. Yeah, so it's deleted. So that's how you can set up a trigger by using this floating action button. Enter the details. The trigger will be here, and then you can delete it. Then, before writing API calls for this, we initially had support for ArrowGear pipe, and ArrowGear pipe using ArrowGear pipe was uh, like adding more APIs to it was getting a bit complicated. So Anuj, I, and all of us discussed that it would be better if we shift to something else. So we thought upon this, and then we decided that let's shift to retrofit. So the next thing which I did was to help shifting the entire ArrowGear pipes to retrofit. So all the API calls that were there are now in retrofit, are now written in retrofit, and I would like to show you the code. So now we have all the retrofit services: alert service, metric service, and trigger service. The backend client has been modified according to retrofit. Initially, it had all the pipes names and all that things. So now we have support for retrofit. So this is the retrofit shifting that I did. And so coming to the next part was the inventory fix. So due to the inventory change, there were major crashes happening because not only the API changed, there were a lot of changes in the response body. And when we talk about Android, we have to change the entire response body that we make, all the models that we have here. So all the models that were there were written for a particular response body. And once the response body changed, everything was falling apart. So I rewrote some backend models in order to make it relevant to the response body structure. And I took a lot of help, and I really bugged a lot of people doing this. So now the so yeah, so now the Explorer loads a feed, and you can see all the resources for a particular field. And for a particular resource, you can see the types of matrix that are there, and similarly for the others as well. I would like to show you what was there in the initial part when I started doing. So just a second. Yeah. So this was the initial problem that I faced. So when I fetch data, when I pass the JSONs that I was getting, I was actually getting this response: inventory dot the ID dot local, and the other four also. So I was very confused as to how this doesn't match to the one in the Ruby client. So then I talked to people, and then they told me, then the community members helped me figuring this out, that this is all encoded. And I have, in order to fix this, to do this encoding, I've actually borrowed the rebuild from chunks function from the Ruby client only. I modified it a little bit to add support for Android, and I've mainly used that function to decode the data. So this is what I have done to get this here. So this is the thing which I have done, and here is a detailed documentation. I've tried to incorporate all the explanation that are required, and try to add links to it. I'll be modifying it constantly. I'll be adding more details to it so that whosoever takes up this project next time is very, at least knows what happened in the previous year. So I'll keep on adding more details, and yeah. So this is about it. Yeah.
Hey,
So
that's awesome.
yeah.
Can you do you happen to have any data on a, let's say, real resource or anything so that the alert fires and
Oh,
you
oh,
can show that?
um, yeah. Actually, I'll show you there are problems. There are a few problems in Explorer, which I'm still trying to figure out why they're happening. So the data value is being returned null, and there are some changes which need to be done in this. So I'll just try. I hope it doesn't crash, because earlier when I checked, it was crashing. Still need to fix this. Um, this is the metric availability thing. Somehow this still needs to be fixed. I'm still working on it because there are some resources which are not being shown here, and I'm trying to figure it out why it's happening. So hopefully in next 1 week, um, I hopefully will fix it in the next 1 week. Because, no, there's some
So,
problem with the client which I need to discuss with Anuj, and I need to fix
hmm.
it. Yeah,
So
yeah.
basically the trigger setup that you have just shown
Yeah.
is not yet tied to a specific metric or anything, and this still needs to happen from here, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
But still needs to be done from here.
Okay, cool.
I'm working on it. I'm working on it, and in the next 1 week, I'll be done with this.
Okay. And don't forget, if you need help, just ping people in the Hawkular channel.
Yeah, sure. So, are there tests for this Android API? The Android API. So we do keep writing tests for everything we write. So for most of the things we do have tests. Just a second, I'll show you. Can tests. Mm, yep. Android. We have written tests. So for everything we do write test. And one of the major objective of my project also is to write UI testing for whatever UI is there, espresso testing. So those are the two things which are still remaining. I still have to add support for espresso, attack testing. And these are the tester which we have written for the backend, for the adapters that are there in the backend adapters. So this is for the backend models. For each model class, we have a tester. So this is how we test. But for the UI thing, we do have to use espresso testing, that testing of espresso.
Yeah, I feel like the timeline with all this inventory work that you had to do will not allow, at least within the summer of code, for much of this testing part.
Yeah, but I'll keep doing it even after the GSOC, even after this period ends. I'll keep on working on it. So it's not an issue. But yeah, I had to fix the inventory part. There were a lot of problems in that
Yeah,
period. So yeah.
yeah, and this was completely unforeseen when planning everything, so you could not have known about it. So this is just for everyone on the call. It's not because Pallavi was slow or anything, but this was a huge change that everyone on the Hawkular team knows about. But this was not known when we scoped the work and so on. So it's not Pallavi's fault in any way. But of course, this impact has an impact on the original plan that was made before the
Yeah.
inventory change.
Yeah, but yeah, that is unfortunate. But never mind. I'll keep working on it, and I'll make sure that in the next coming 2-3 months, I'll add espresso. I'll make it working very well. So
Awesome. Are there any questions? Lucas, you as one of the alert
Yeah,
leads.
more than a question, I have a couple of suggestions. So first of all, thank you, Pallavi. It's quite nice that you can add the alerting functionalities into the Android client. It's great to see this concept in the emulator. A suggestion from my side, just that
yeah.
perhaps I know better the model behind alerting, and it could be complex. One simplification that I guess it could be nice is that instead to create a trigger like a phone, just click
Yeah, yeah,
and things like that.
yeah.
One thing that perhaps is more effective from usability perspective is that when you from the metric explorer
Yeah, yeah.
to a metric, you can to have some option like a create a trigger from this metric.
Okay, okay,
Probably the only next step is to define, for example, is this availability there? What is is it down, is up, or it is a numeric metric, just a threshold? It's just starting, okay? Because the alerting model allows to you to do a lot of complex things. But I guess that for the scope of your work, things like that if I have a numeric metric, do you want to click on it? Do you want to define a threshold? Yes, okay. Perhaps
okay,
the IDs and the names can be auto-generated from, let's say, from the metric trigger or whatever. What do you think? And in the other side, in the tab, when you see the triggers, you can see created the trigger with the threshold in a more simplified way.
okay,
That's it. And you have read it in order to get data when you receive an alert, you have to show the alert. Just a suggestion from my side that perhaps could simplify the work, and perhaps you can get the trigger set up more straightforward and more easy for the user.
okay, okay. I'll keep this in mind. So yeah, so instead of making it a form, it would be better if I could just add it from the Explorer itself. Right? Right?
Yeah, exactly. Yes, when you click
Yeah,
on a metric, it's like an option to say, hey, do you want to define a threshold or availability from this
yeah,
metric
yeah,
or not? And
yeah.
automatically, when you generate it, okay, you only need to define the conditions. And under the hood, you have generated the trigger with the conditions, and you also have the other activity, the triggers activity, in order to browse, also in the trigger created. It's a
Okay,
suggestion. Instead to show all the options, I guess for a preliminary versions, I would don't show all for example, the definition of the type of the trigger, if it's a standard, group, or fan member, because that is more internal detail. That's something that perhaps an end user of the Android client is going to use.
okay. Yeah, I understand.
But it's just a suggestion because I don't know what is the scope of the effort, just a brainstorming. So it's just to thinking loud. But it's looking good. It's just the first thing that I thought when I saw the flow of the ticket creation.
Okay. Okay. I'll do keep this suggestion in mind, and yeah.
So, Pallavi, could you switch to the emulator and perhaps show a metric or two, just how this is displayed for people that haven't seen the previous work?
Yep. Just a second. I'll do that. So for every metric we have buckets. So if a bucket has value, this is of type. This is of type availability. Yeah, this is of type availability. So it will just show if it's up or down, right? So the data in there. This is a type availability again.
Yeah, I think the heap size also should be something with data,
Yeah.
anything with heap.
Heap size. Let's see heap size. This is still availability. Heap size I can see is still availability.
Okay. It's also an issue with the inventory change. I see. Okay.
So probably I need to see this again. Fetching.
Okay. No problem. Yeah, don't worry. No problem. You have just sort of indicated there is a add to favorites. Can you?
Yeah. So you can add
for people
this
that haven't seen it before.
Yeah. So for every matrix type, when you long click, then you get this option to add this matrix to a favorite list. And when we click OK, it go. Oh shit! It stopped. Okay, there's some error. It generally goes to a matrix. I don't know why it's failing today. Yeah. So whenever you click OK, so there's this favorite matrix column, and then it comes there. So whatever matrix you add to favorite, it generally gets to the matrix. I'll just open the app again. Yeah. So it didn't get registered. It didn't get registered. Otherwise, it comes in this favorite matrix column. Yeah, just try to do this again. Hopefully it doesn't fail this time.
Yeah, don't worry.
I still have to do some work on this. It's still crashing.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So thank you very much, Pallavi, for the presentation and all your work. And also a big thank you to Anush, who was our last year's Summer of Code student and who has continued working on the client and who has now been the main mentor to Pallavi. So he's also investing a good number of hours into this. So thanks to both of you.
Thank you, Hawkular, for guiding us in this process.
Looks like you're sitting under a train. Just type it.
Okay. Is this a problem? No. Hello?
Yeah. Trash metal music, right? No, he was probably sitting under a train or so. Okay, thanks everyone. If there are no more questions, great work.
Okay, is there anything else? Any feedback? Any more feedback?
Yeah, so keep up the good work and stay on the Hawkular channel. And again, if you need help, just ping people, right?
Yeah, I would just like to apologize to everyone for not being so active in the first month of June because I'm in general a bit of a shy person and I was so new to all this open source community and just it just took me quite a lot of time to get used to how things work here. So
Yeah, no problem.
okay,
Doing great.
thank you.
Okay, then I'll let you go into your weekend.
Thank you so much. Have a nice weekend, everyone.
You too.
Thank
Bye.
you.